Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Heels of Time, aka Theo and Derek. So today, I don't even know what we're doing.
Surprise, surprise.
Yep, Derek legit was like, dude, I got a topic. I wanted to be a total shocker. So you guys are not really going to listen to me that much, I don't think. So take it away, Derek. Do your thing.
I appreciate it, my friend. So, any guesses as to the hint that's in the background as to maybe what or who the topic might be?
Yeah, I was going to say, move your head for a second.
Pick whatever this is.
Huh. I mean, obviously it's a hand coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
Got some nails.
Yeah.
Almost looks
Pretty
like armor.
gnarly.
Maybe some armor on the knuckles? Maybe?
I don't know if it's armor or just bone protrusions. Like some doomsday scenario.
Right. I was going to say, I'm trying to think.
Like some apocalypse, doomsday, end of the world.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. So some last battle stuff?
Well, I believe this is some artist depiction of like what they would envision the Dark One to be.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, which not what I would picture, but you know, it's what I could come up with in a short period of time. So the topic will have to do with the Dark One today.
Oh, shit.
And
All right.
To kind of set the stage, you're gonna get I'm gonna set up a little bit of a scenario that happens in the series at the end. So big spoiler, like this is end of series spoiler, and then I want to give you my theory, and then I'd like to just kind of explore where you might see parallels, or the answer might be, actually, this sounds like maybe it's Eastern kind of philosophy, which it might be. That's what I'm kind of curious about, and then that's something we're gonna have to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
So, but without further ado, as they say. So let me set the stage. So throughout the book series, the climax is leading to what? The battle between the Dark One and the dragon, right? So Rand al'Thor trying to fulfill prophecy, but actually he doesn't even really know what he needs to do at the end of the day, both in a literal sense but also in a meta sense. Like, do I kill the Dark One? Do I usurp him and take his place? Do I banish him? What's the solution? And he struggles with this because he has kind of a selfish reason, which is he has one way to get out of this. So to live, you must die. So he found out there's a way out. The way to live and fight another day, so to speak. So he doesn't want to get it wrong, right? But also, he loves his family. He loves everybody. He loves the world that he's sad that he's about to leave behind, right? And he ultimately makes the choice to self-sacrifice, like take one for the team in the ultimate sense. So when he's leading up to that conclusion, the first thought that he comes to is, I'm going to kill the Dark One. Well, what would that even mean? We find out in the context of Wheel of Time that if you were to kill the Dark One, Theo, there would be no want of power. There'd be no desire, there'd be no pain. Everyone would be satiated with exactly what they needed at all times. There'd be no sadness, right?
No strife.
Right, Pandora's box totally unopened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, no one even misses their lost ones, in this scenario, so it's like there are weird consequences of this, in other words, right? This kind of, you're not allowed to be sad kind of thing, almost like that Twilight Zone episode with the little kid turn you into a jack-in-the-box, right? If you had the wrong thought. So Rand realized, well, that's not actually the way to go. And here it comes, Theo. Here's the lineup before the pitch. One of his last philosophical talks he has with Aviendha, one of his main women, right? One of his Aiel. It's his Aiel woman squeeze, so to speak. And he would normally have philosophical talks with a gentleman that gets killed in the book series, so obviously that's not an option. So, and Avieta is very wise, and she becomes a wise one. And we talk about what that means and what that could mean in the context of mythology. That means she's some kind of like wisdom deity, right? Or she becomes one. And so as it goes, she says, well, yeah, Rand al'Thor, because she's very formal, right? It would be quite an amazing thing for you to slay the Dark One. Of course, right? No pain, no suffering. However, isn't the most honorable thing to take the Dark One Gai'Shane? And that's their cultural idea of taking another warrior prisoner by touching them without causing them pain. By doing that in the heat of battle, they consider that to be quite a feat. And the only answer is to submit for a year and a day to that person ultimately. And you're humbled by that process, right? So here it goes. Here's the pitch. Rand is able to cheat death. He's able to sidestep it literally into another body. We don't really get to know how, and that doesn't matter for today's discussion. But he is left with something. And this thing that he's left with, I believe, and this isn't the main topic for today, but I believe, A, not only does this identify him with Odysseus, but B, it also is the sign that he didn't totally vanquish the Dark One. He is left with a piece of Sa in his eye. What is Sa? It's this black residue from using the Dark One's power. So when Rand defeated the Dark One, the Trollocs just dropped dead, the Myrddraals dissolved into thin air, anything that was shadow related was gone. You know, any contracts made with the Dark One dissolved. Ultimately, everything gone. But Rand's new body has Sa in its eye. Okay? So, I think that what Rand figured out how to do, Theo, is literally imprison the Dark One in his new body. Just a piece of it. The rest of it's locked away somewhere. And it's to put him in submission to teach him how to be good. So ultimately, this would mean there is this cycle where the Dark One eventually actually becomes a benevolent being. And maybe even, for another day, is actually the creator. So, the other piece of evidence, and I'm going to throw this to you, so get ready.
Oh, man. All right,
Yep.
we'll try.
The other piece of evidence is this. When Rand has his new body, he's alarmed to find that he can no longer channel the one power, the male half of the source, which leads him to the conclusion that, I believe, Moradin was exclusively using the Dark One's power in order to do his magic. Well, Rand is able to summon out of thin air the best tobacco, the finest weed in the Shire, and he's able to get a pipe and light it with a thought. So my thought is, he's using the Dark One to do that. And that's his first preview of showing him how to create something instead of destroy. So he's in the slow process of reversing the Dark One. And instead of contaminating him, he's delving him. He's purifying him, that's the word. With Rand's holiness, he's making the well clean again, so to speak. So that's my thought. It's like he made the Dark One his servant. So what do you think? And do you see any parallels that strike you in mythology that you know of? Or do you think we're going to have to jump out of our wheelhouse and figure it out ourselves where in the world Robert Jordan, if you agree with me, would have got such an idea.
Man, that's some deep stuff, man.
Thank
So-
you, my friend.
So, yes, what I mean, we didn't actually know anything. I had no idea what he was going to talk about today. So he literally has sprung this on me. So it's going to take me a minute to absorb.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. And I said a lot, so if you need to question me, you know.
Yeah, so I know I dig it. And it makes sense in the realm of Rand not being like Rand the Destroyer. You know, he's not like Conan the Barbarian, like just go around and like, I am a good guy, therefore everybody must die. Rah!
Right.
He's not quite like that. He can be ruthless, as we know.
Mhm.
With every good, there's a bad. I wouldn't say necessarily mythology, but to me, it's gonna get a little philosophical potentially as well.
Please,
It reminds me of
please.
someone saying like how in the real world, like here,
Right.
it would think to me along the lines of, well, is God good?
Oh, that's really interesting angle to take. Yeah. No, go for
And
it.
If someone's like, well, it's a paradox. Well, yes, of course God's good. Well, if God's good, why do bad things happen?
Right.
Well, it's a test.
Okay.
Test for what? And you know, it keeps leading on more questions, right? So I say to Rand, you could almost say like, I wouldn't say like the Holy Trinity because it's kind of warped. Because obviously it's not Father, Son, Holy Spirit kind of thing where it's the dark one where it's be almost like, technically there's no devil per se. It's, you know, in the Bible. But,
Got you.
it takes like a, if you look at the, okay, you did have me going and then I guess my own self sidetracked without like, you know, notes. But, if you look at the symbol of the Wheel of Time, it's almost, not quite, but almost a yin yang, right? Almost.
That's true. That's
Not
true.
quite, but almost. But if you look at it, Greeks love symmetry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's what they admire the most. The most beautiful person in the world is perfectly symmetrical. Never gonna happen, but that's fine. That's just the ancient
idea.
thought process. Yeah, the idea. The ideal is perfect symmetry.
Or the ideal. Yeah.
Eastern cultures, yin and yang, good. You know what I'm saying? Necessarily good and bad, but just have evil and good, and there's the mixture of the two. But without the one, you can't have the other. That's why it's always a perpetual circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking the Wheel of Time symbol, if you strip away all of the foreground and you concentrate on the background,
Mm-hmm.
it is perfectly symmetrical.
Okay.
I mean, not perfect like as like straight line, but if you took this I don't know, the curvy line in the middle, it's equal parts.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
So what I think, and let me know if this goes along with your philosophy,
Okay.
it's almost like you can't have one without the other ever, because there's going to be some consequence with that.
Okay.
So if you get rid of Rand, there's no balance. If it's all bad and it all goes to void and it all goes to that, what does the Dark One actually control? Nothing.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. So he
Could-
needs
he needs
to
Rand.
He needs people to subjugate, is what you're saying.
Yes. Flip side, if Rand totally... Yep, go ahead.
Time out real quick. So it's almost like the Dark One needs hope.
Right. He needs it too. But he needs opposite. So, like you said, Rand, I'm going to kill the Dark One. Murder him. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you look at the Matrix, right? Totally different subject now, guys. Matrix
No,
movie.
go for it. Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, great acting.
What did the architect do? The first Matrix was perfect. Nobody had strife. Nobody had hunger. Everybody was happy-go-lucky, and everything was great. Except nobody was happy. It was
Right.
so perfect. It wasn't believable. And then it fell apart. And to be enlightened, so to speak, if we consider ourselves as humans enlightened, it's the struggle that makes us. If there's an alien that
kind of
comes
agree
down
with that, yeah.
and comes down and is like, what makes you guys human? It's not that we're perfect beings. You have to compete, right? I trust people driving a car not to go berserko and ram me on purpose. If you think about it, anybody that drives this is a 2,000-pound weapon.
Right.
You don't think that when you drive it, though, because you trust everybody. Inherently, we have the trust. If you take it away and everything is like absolutely 100% perfect, would our world be believable?
Right.
No, I don't think it would be.
Look, here's the perfect example for the gamers out there. If they're old like me, anyway, and
Oh
my
man,
friend Theo.
that means I'm older, so yeah.
Well, I think I just like hit the mark, and then everyone older than me is also just equally old at this point. So basically, when you're a kid and you're learning to play video games, you're like, oh yeah, IDDQD Doom, I'm invincible, right? But when you're an adult and you get older, you realize, well, that actually is not where it's at. That's not fun, because there's no challenge there.
Yep.
And it gets boring really quickly. So like, pick your favorite RPG right now. Do you have a favorite one, Theo?
We'll say Mass Effect, whatever.
All right, Matt, that's a good one. So Mass Effect, you don't want to start out with every skill maxed out.
No.
Max level, max health, max shields, or whatever it is, max armor or whatever. Best weapon. That's boring.
Yep.
You're just gonna nuke everything, walk around, like that's what the reward is at the end of the journey. So I'm gonna throw it back to you, I promise. Sorry for interrupting.
Yep. That's all good.
But what I'm hearing is you're like, well, it's the journey that people yearn for, right?
Yes.
Okay. Word.
So, in terms of book and narrative, you actually you perfectly hit what my segue. It's the journey that gets us, right? Why do we like Rand? In a way, why do we like the Dark One and even some of his fiends, so to speak? Why do we dig them? It's their journey. It's what happens to them. That's what grips you.
Yeah.
Why is Star Wars? If some people like it, why is it such a cultural phenomenon? Star Trek, even Conan the Barbarian. If you're going a little older, and you could example after example and book after book after book. The culmination is the hero's journey. It shows the hero, who is human-esque, going through a struggle, wanting to get something at the end, but it's how does this weakling in the beginning get to be a prince or a king or all-powerful or knowledgeable or save his significant other or whatever the goal is at the end. Humans like to see that struggle. Humans like to see how can you overcome the bad stuff to make it good. And for what you were saying about how you think that Rand essentially, I don't want to say doppelgangered himself, but popped himself to another body and absorbed the Dark One right quick. I can't actually wield any powers. And then all of a sudden he can kind of do a little something. Big something, technically, but something. Well, it would make sense that he couldn't channel to me. And you're going to say, well, why?
Yes, Theo, why would it make sense? That's interesting.
Because, in my mind, his hero's journey ended already. He already got what he wanted. He stopped the Dark One. Right as he absorbed that body, his goal is over. He stopped it. Okay, and you're like, okay, so now what? Well, the next step is the Dark One's journey.
Oh, that's really interesting, actually. Wow. Oh, wow.
So at least to me, it could be totally fake. But in my mind, what better way? Rand already completed his task. He was I'm gonna say a whelpling at the beginning, but he didn't know anything, didn't know any blah 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 blah. Dude, this 14-book journey, became a super god essentially, and then
in the beginning, he just wanted to go to the Hitachi station to get some power converters, man.
pretty much, and then kabam, he becomes pretty much the all-powerful being of the world, competing against an outer worldly, if you want to consider him outer worldly,
Most
being.
definitely.
And he stopped him. That was the dragon's ultimate goal, right? All the dragons culminating in this that wasn't the goal. And I think
Just
other
to stop the Dark One.
Yep, I think the other dragons wanted to kill the Dark One. And remember how he said there's a scenario where it works.
Right. No, you're right. Actually, that's a good point, because if there's one scenario where there is no Dark One, that would be exactly equivalent to a scenario where the previous dragon killed the Dark One, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Like the hands going around a clock.
Yep.
0 o'clock is the same as midnight, everybody.
Mm-hmm. So then he finished. So now he's got the Dark One and him combining into one being who is now the being is now symmetrical.
Oh, dude, that's beautiful. I didn't even think about that. So you see it as like they've actually combined into one being at this point.
Correct.
I like that. I like that.
Now you have the mega figure. You have, why is God good? He's not. Why is God bad? He's also not. Rand / Dark One
Right.
is God of
Okay,
everything.
Of everything, yes.
But he's a new god, so to speak. How do you
wow.
work? How do you work together? How do you get it done? That's why you're like, oh, let me do this like the old school. That didn't really work right, or at all.
Right.
But then poof, this stuff comes up. I think it's gonna be accelerated because you got all the ancient knowledge from all of those things combining, and how do you process that? It's gonna take in his a second literally, but it would balance everything.
No, I dig that. I really. Oh, I got blurry there. I dig that. I really do. That you've added to that in such a way that makes me hard to like. This has to be it, right? Like he took the Dark One. Well, I know we don't know, but it looks like he took the Dark One prisoner. It looks
Right.
like he did. So it's like that little portal in his eye is like so the Dark One can see what he's doing. He can see his good deeds.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes me think, well, Rand, quote unquote, whatever we call him at this, he's not Rand anymore then, right?
Right. Yep.
So, new god, right? So essentially, new god will live as long as he wants to live. Kind of like the king in Lord of the Rings just lived to be like 500 and then he gave a quit. He's like, all right, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
In that vision with, what's her name, Erwin or what, the elf,
Yep.
the elvish lady, and what's his name was like, no, you don't want to be with him because even 500 years is a blink of an eye to us, right?
Yep.
So, but Rand gets to make that choice now. I would say he gets to live to be 3,000 years old if he wanted to try to tame the Dark One. So, I'll give it back to you, but it's very interesting. I wonder if Robert Jordan had this intention. Because I can't really claim,
Right.
I can't really claim to know that he did, because I don't have his notes, unfortunately. But I wonder if he would have intended to write this series. And when you say it'd be about the Dark One's hero's journey, the new god's hero's journey, the combination.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was just intent. Like that's really amazing. Like that's really cool. And I know this isn't like the best choice, but this is not a very good choice for feminism, but it does remind me of William Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. So he starts with this woman she's kind of, well, and this is him writing it, right? I'm not saying women are like this, generally speaking, but she's a nasty character, right? And he kind of, for lack of a better word, helps her fulfill the domestic process that they wanted her to fulfill at the time. Not agreeing with this, just saying maybe that's what Rand is about. He's trying to steer the udder, or the rudder. Oh my goodness, the rudder. steer the rudder, everybody, of the Dark One. No one wants to touch the Dark One's udder. That was a Freudian slip because I was thinking of the heavenly bull being slain by Gilgamesh, I think. But at any rate, steer the rudder, like on the Argo. Maybe that's the better example.
There you go.
To recharge a new direction. And that, I like what you said, because that is how you can have some kind of cosmic being be drastically different in, like, long, deep time, as they say. Like, 1,000,000 years ago, yeah, he was kind of a jerk, but he changed his ways, and now things are awesome. And here's the last thing I'll say, and you inspired this thought. Like, this is like off the cuff right now. So what if Rand completes this task of his hero's journey, and the point where he gives up is like, well, I can't make the Dark One any better than this. Well, then what? He wouldn't be the Dark One anymore. He'd be like the Light One, right?
No. That's I was hoping you were going to throw it back to me, because I hope you were going to ask me a question like that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Keep going with what you were thinking.
Well, I was going to say, maybe something else, okay? I won't, we can argue that point in a second. But maybe he's like the white light, in this case now, of everything that's good and great, or whatever. And then maybe he has someone that bucks the trend and is like, maybe things should be different, like a fallen angel, so to speak. So back to you, my friend.
So you exactly, I wouldn't say you stole my thunder, but that was awesome, because that's where I was going.
All right, right on.
In the who knows how long it ever is going to take, if we took this kind of theory, one should become 100%, and maybe the Dark One's like, dang, being good's awesome, right? I'm now not the Dark One, but the Light One.
Right,
well,
right.
Remember, Rand is still in there somewhere. Rand and the Dark One, so they got the symmetry.
Okay.
It's the symmetry that works, but when it gets off-center, you gotta have that counterbalance. So, it's gonna slowly... I mean, because right now it's probably a little bit like that, but it's still all good, all bad.
Got it.
Then it's gonna go... Sweet. Well, when they touch, how would it be if it just started to go like this? But
nice.
Wait, because I can't actually go as full circle. If you're at 180 degrees, and then you go to 90, and then you go back around.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
You just keep going in a circle.
In a circle. Okay, I really like this. I really
so
like this.
It could be that the Dark One and the Dragon have always been two sides, or two sides of a coin. They're the same coin, but a head and a tail is different, right?
Yeah, okay.
So, in terms of the Wheel of Time, as things always are cyclical, and they always go back and forth. We don't know how long a cycle is, so to speak, and how many cycles there have been.
Oh, that's so cool.
If every cycle, it's a notch, and then there's, let's say, 360 notches, it just keeps infinitely going around and around and around. Right. So you're going to have different ages.
Yeah.
And then things are going to be really bad. And then a little better, better, awesome-ish. And then it's going to start going backwards again.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because then the split will happen. You could look at it as like a great schism. You could look at it as divergent theories. You could look at it as just a yin and yang, because everything's got to be in balance. Rand will get a little evil, the Dark One will get a little good, and they influence each other. And then Rand character, Dragon, becomes the Dark One, and the Dark One then becomes the Dragon.
Perhaps even looking more like the scaly appearance of the creatures that dwell on his arms.
Mm-hmm. Which could
And
be how they are in a particular age, right?
And maybe a brave knight will have to step up to slay this dragon, unfortunately, right?
Mm-hmm. So
I see your point. I see your point.
that was how I would interpret a potential cycle, or if it's always supposed to be endless, it can't end.
Right.
Because even if
And
this
there-
ends it, that means that what would that mean? That'd be like the end of the world type stuff, but it didn't end.
Right. And even though it was the last battle, we get prophecy of the quote next age, and there's still violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't literally mean the last battle either.
Right. It's the last battle of the age.
Of the big age before
Right. The next
dark one, before the dark one starts to become the good guy, essentially.
Right.
And it'll be a long journey because, like you said, I like what you said. Eventually, at some point, their ideologies will be about the same. And that's kind of like your Obi-Wan Anakin moment, where at some point their ideologies were the same, but then when Anakin just went one more step further than that, Obi-Wan's like, no, dude, no.
Right.
And that's when they kept going the other way.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. So working some Star Wars in there, doing the best I can.
That's nice.
So thank you. So yeah. So what do you think? What's the probability that this might be the intention of the story?
Dude, I mean, I look at it and say, obviously it's always open for interpretation. Everything, our entire series is always open for interpretation.
Good point.
But if we're looking at a philosophical journey, we're looking at a hero's journey in terms of literature, writing, character development, what would you call the mythos, or the myth of Wheel of Time, and how it is supposed to cycle, and it's supposed to have ages, and it's supposed to be just an endless wheel, literally,
Good point.
with like different spokes. If you're looking within the story's own legend and myth, if Rand does like the time stone thing and he's like, there's just one way I can win, it's not so far from like when Neo looked at the same thing and said, well, I'm not going to make the same choice. I'm choosing I'm choosing Trinity. And
Right,
Architect's
right.
like, oh no! Then all of a sudden the chaos, right? This is like the chaos moment. I think everybody probably expected him to kill the Dark One because that's what you were supposed to do. But he didn't. He perpetuated the ages because he's like,
that's
I think
interesting.
I can be different than the other dragons. Other dragons. Who knows how many?
Right. No, I got you.
This
I
is
got
the
you.
one chance that I might have to make a difference. Well, he would.
Right.
He would, because he'd actually become the Dark One. At least in my way.
That's actually we need to explore that topic next time. What would have happened if Rand slayed the Dark One? Yeah, so keep a lid on that, my friend.
That's easy.
Yeah. You gotta. I'm serious. That sounds like a really good topic that you just threw out there. So yeah, sorry. So back
All
to you.
good. So I think it would fit within like the Wheel of Time mythology and legend,
Excellent. Right.
both as a book, as like humans reading it, and seemingly within the actual storyline, it would fit. At
Got
least
it, yeah.
as an interpretation.
Appreciate that.
There's also a lot of, if you look at sci-fi and adventure movies, kind of fantasy type stuff, there's always that little like inception.
Okay.
Did the top topple over, or did it
Right.
continue to spin? You don't really know because that last
Right.
little thing. Or 2001, what actually happened right at the end. There's always like that little glimmer, and it always gets you thinking, ooh, what does that mean? But that's the whole point. What does it mean?
Right.
That's what the
Okay.
author,
Good point.
producer, whomever wants the audience to think. Just a little bit deeper, a little bit harder. And what's the theory behind it? So it would work as in terms of like a Robert Jordan little, I don't want to say Easter egg, but a little, here's the last little thing. Little poof.
Nice.
Audience,
No,
little pixie
I
dust
like
or
that.
whatever.
Oh, sure.
Because we know that he wrote the ending at the same time he wrote the beginning, right?
Pretty
So
much, yeah.
He basically knew how he wanted to end the story.
Oh, okay.
So
Right.
he had that intention. He had the beginning, had the end, and he just edited and knocked everything in the middle. So
Right.
that means his intention was always, whatever his intention was always there, like at the beginning.
Okay, I like that. I see what you mean.
So if that was his little
Wink
here you
and
guys
nod
go.
or something?
little nod to his audience, a little, what do you think about that when I put that little glimmer in Rand's eye?
Right.
Is he the Dark One? Dark One doesn't necessarily have to do everything evil.
Right. Oh, I see what you mean.
Is Rand, did he cleanse everything and Saw's just
yeah.
good to go now?
Right.
Could
Yep.
be. Is the power totally cleansed? And that
Oh,
glimmers
that's
doesn't
interesting.
actually mean anything? Could be. Could it be something like we discussed, is that they're potentially in one body and just not fighting each other, like physically, but metaphysically?
Well, the way I think about
Yeah.
it is, I don't know if you've ever seen this bizarre movie called Being John Malkovich. Okay, I'll give you the synopsis right quick. There is a portal in this office building that was discovered in the 1800s by a merchant pirate, and he found out that when you step in the portal, you can basically see what a specific person can see, like one person. It's like a psychic link to them, but your body disappears. Like, it's just gone. You're sitting in there, and you're kind of stuck in there. So, like, you're like along for the ride. You can't control. I guess it would be like if someone else could see exactly what you see, Theo, but they couldn't control your body at all.
They're observing.
Yeah, like they're in a constant state of paralysis where they can observe, and that's it. So I kind of think maybe it would be
It's
akin
like
to
that.
that. Yeah, like
makes
that
sense.
Saw might be the portal. The Saw's like the portal to let the Dark One observe the world, so to speak.
Right. And then Rand can kind of control it or not. Maybe it's the
Yeah.
Dark One just doing it through Rand. But because Rand's good and he's not, and it just becomes good, who knows? But it makes you think.
It does, and it makes me wonder. My crazy conspiracy theory is that looking at fantasy writing in general in Western society, so you include your Lord of the Rings series. Yeah, in the Hobbit series originally, there's this bizarre character called Tom Bombadil that seems to be able to do kind of similar things that Rand can do. Like, he just has his tobacco pipe just ready to go, and he claims to be ancient, and he claims to have all this power, but he's like, nah, I don't use it though. So it makes me wonder, and I have no proof for that. That's just a friend of mine, my brother-in-law, my good friend and brother-in-law, he has a theory. He has many theories about Tom Bombadil, so because of that, I often wonder, like, because he's like a cult character within literature, I guess, because he's like interesting, but no one knows more than a few lines about him. But no need to comment on that bizarre side note. But yeah, I do like what you had to say. You got me thinking, and you helped convince me more. I know that's probably not what you were trying to do, but yeah. So without saying anything more about that, I think the next episode we're gonna have to explore what if Rand slays the Dark One. So you can think about that, and if this won't be a surprise, which, man, you rolled with the punches today. I appreciate that, my friend.
Thank you. Good. That's good.
So I'm gonna throw the last word to you.
Excellent. So, if you guys dug our theory, cool. It is kind of far out there. I won't deny that. And I'll rephrase. It wasn't my theory. It was Derek's theory. This is all on him. So if you disagree, it's all with Derek.
I'll take the blame.
But it's okay. So no, but I liked it. It was definitely make you. It's definitely a thinker, and regardless of how you interpret the end, is how you want to come away with the story, right?
Okay.
And that's the whole purpose of really any book, any series, any movie. The hope I would think would be, hey, how many people watch a movie and then right afterwards we all discuss it, right?
Right.
Same thing with a popular book or something. Did you read the blah blah blah? What'd you think about blah 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 blah? So that's the whole purpose. And regardless of what Robert Jordan actually thought and actually meant for the ending to be, I think he would be pleased regardless if we're totally way off and he's like, scale of 1 to 10, you guys are like a -30 on the right scale. I think he would appreciate as an author us just talking about it.
Oh, that's a good sentiment. Yeah.
And
I like that.
I would think that it might encourage people, even though we totally destroyed your ending. Sorry. But we warned you. To open up for like new interpretations as you read the book. I will say there are times where I've read something, a book, or a movie, watched a movie,
Right.
and then at the end I was like, dang, I don't understand these things. Find the Easter eggs, find some of the things that other people had observed,
Yeah.
and then rewatch it with a different light, with a different focus, and it's like, dang, man. It's been like 20 plus years now, but The Sixth Sense, first time I ever watched that thing, oh my goodness, I almost flipped out of my chair because I was like,
I
that
agree.
ending or the
Right.
almost ending was like, holy, oh my god, how did I not see it?
Right. I can relate exactly. I felt
And then
same
the
way.
next couple times I watched,
Just to make sure, you're like,
I was
are
like-
they making it up? Like, did they trick me? But it's
right,
there.
I was like, okay. And the second time I watched it, no Easter eggs. I didn't research or anything. Right, as
Right.
before.
Okay. I hear you.
And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. How did I not see that the first time I watched?
Right.
Then I did research, confirmed a lot of what I said, watched it probably the third and final time because after you get through that punch,
Sure.
and
sure.
and like maybe you're
Diminishing returns, right?
yes, I was like, damn, brilliant. Same kind of stuff here. Yeah, the way he wrote it was so open. I wouldn't say open-ended, but it was so ambiguous.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
No, most
I
definitely.
get the thing that comes to my mind, the parallel to me, it's not mythological, but it's Inception. That
Okay.
spinning top at the end.
Okay.
And as it's
okay,
like
no,
kind of the tilter,
true.
and then poof, it just turns black, right?
fair
It's
enough.
kind of the same, open for interpretation, but you talk about it. That's the power of the movie. In this case, the power of the book.
I like that. And last time I'll promote it next week, everybody. We will be talking about what if Fran slayed the Dark One, and what philosophical differences will that lead to?
Oh
And
yeah,
what open interpretation will that be? Because there would still maybe be some type of spinning top, but it's going to be a different one, because the Dark One being dead is completely unambiguous, right?
nope.
So,
Correct.
so that'd be an interesting.
I guess that'd be yes, correct, not nope, correct. But yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah.
All right.
One of those days.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday afternoon. If you could please help us out and like and subscribe. Don't make me beg. Just
Yeah.
like and subscribe.
You don't like us
Uh,
begging.
Do us a solid, and we will catch you next time.
Yes.
And either Tuesday or Thursday this week, please catch us on Twitch, our Heels of Time handle. Find us there, and we'll be playing some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, check us out. All right, until next time.
Public
Go for
service
it.
announcement: don't blow your hands off, Americans, with your fireworks. Be careful, please, if you're gonna blow them
Good
up.
point.
You be safe.
Go to the hospital. Don't second guess it. Don't get the duct tape. Just go to the hospital.
Yep. All right, everybody. Hope you guys have a good week. See you next week.